Tips and tricks for embroidery. Here's some must-have favorites. This is a thin pre-wound bobbin. Love that for embroidery. Embroidery thread is picky and fussy. Sulky is regularly available at Joann's, but it's kind of trash compared to this awesome, what's it called? Hemingsworth. Comes in a little sleeve. You just take this plastic piece off and the thread comes out the top easily. I'm a huge fan of this vertical stand. It helps make sure the thread pulls up and prevents the thread from tangling. On the embroidery machine, make sure you always embroider on E. If you have a speed setting, I find that moving the speed to the middle helps prevent the thread from breaking. This is one of the Kodos belt flags. We did gray and blue 2-color with multiple stitches. So we ran the black and then we did the white antler and the white text. We'll snip these little pieces later, but I had one give me trouble and I just slipped an extra piece under the bottom. I'll show you that later. This is parchment paper. Do not waste money on fancy embroidery stabilizer. Parchment paper is where it's at. It's got a shine on one side and it's just a matte paper on the other. And the shiny part adheres really nicely to the fabric. You can't tell here. Let's go see. This is my fabric. I'm just gonna iron it real quick. Now I take the shiny part of the parchment paper, put it down, and it will not do this part. That's from heat and bond. So no risk, no worries of damaging your ironing board. As it gets hot, it gets a little wrinkly and a little bit more see-through. You can tell where it's attached. The thing I love about it is pull it up, you can look at it, you can see it's well attached, and then you can just peel it back up and even reuse it if you need to. It's tricky trying to iron that way. I always recommend down. These are some samples I did today. You can see where the frame of my extra large hoop went in. That's a G for Lady G. I might make a water bottle holder. This is a bulwark, and you can see the frame. This is one that I had trouble with. So on the back, though it was one sheet of parchment paper, I slipped in extra underneath for just the letters to keep the letters nice and crisp. I also had that issue with Diz. Whoops. Where'd it go? Diz I've already pulled off the parchment paper, cleaned and crisped up some of the lines. But if you see, that looks really nice. And then the back, though it's a little ugly, it doesn't matter because I'm going to sew a lining over it to make it a really crisp finish. A few other tips is my hoop has a dot for the center line. I love to line that up. It also has one on the edge. This buildup is from spray adhesive. Once again, not my favorite. Huge fan of the parchment paper. You can buy it at Publix. And then if you want to design your own image like Mr. Roblox face here, then I highly recommend printing your image that you want to use, taking a photo of it, and then importing the photo into the software that you're going to use to digitize the image. I embroidered this face with an image that I designed with the photo. This is a fill stitch. This is a satin stitch. You can play along or play around with those stitches in your design program depending on which one you have. I have the Futura autopunch, so it gives a lot of freedom, but it's a big pain in the butt. Once again, my biggest tip is to take a photo of the to print the image from online like this and then kind of zoom in and get a crisp photo and email it to yourself, upload it into the software, and then you'll get a much cleaner design image than if you try to use a pixelated image from the internet. I'll take you on a quick tour of how to digitize this little magic symbol here. Will allow you to pull up and design your own image. Here's the photo I took. It starts with centimeters, I think in inches, so I'll move that over. 41 inches, way too big. I'm looking for only 5 inches wide. You can scale that more with time. I like to click this preview color reduction and suggest. Because this is a photo of the image that I printed, it gives me two. That's magical. The image that I downloaded from the internet gave me 13 colors, which is not going to give me clean lines. This 9mm is the ideal size for a satin stitch like this. I wonder if I'm using the wrong word. Is that a column stitch? This is fill. Fill looks a lot more flat. This looks very shiny and bold. So I'm gonna pull this all the way over because I want as many of these shiny bold stitches as possible, kind of like a pop-in eyebrow. And then here, stitch blocks that have the same color as the background. I do not want to do that because I'm just looking for the outline. So then I'm going to go to the next screen and I'm going to click on the eye and make sure the eye is on a fill stitch, not a column stitch. And then these eyebrows are column. That's going to look great. Find the other eye, switch that over to fill, go next to my last screen. Use a jump stitch. That's a lot easier to cut off. That sounds great to me. Finish. And then depending on how quick my internet is, this image will pop up. Here you go. I'm also gonna zoom in from 44% to 100, and I can go to view, show you the realistic view with what the stitches would actually look like. And then also from design, I'm gonna change the size to actually be 5 inches wide. And I'm a fan of seeing what the grid looks like. There you go. This is my design. You just click the little sewing machine to send it over. And then I recommend clicking this button, speed limiter, to help prevent your stitches from breaking while you're doing the embroidery work. A few more tips. These are fishing line snips. They're excellent for threads. I like a size 11 needle. I recommend you always start with a fresh, sharp, thin needle when doing embroidery, unless you're using a knit material. Alcohol wipes were to clean the machine I stored in the garage, so it was covered with a thick layer of dust. And then the bobbin, well, to move the tray, there's this little lever here, so you're gonna pull that and pull on the tray, but I need 2 hands. Also, this presser foot here, if you're moving the embroidery in and out, make sure this is up. That will allow your little foot, here we go, that will allow this to lift, to rise and lower. Your needle, like I said, it should be thin. If you're sewing a thin piece of fabric, it should be thicker if you're sewing something thick. And just like when you get in the car, you always put your seatbelt on, I think of this little thing here as your seatbelt. You want to make sure the thread is inside the seatbelt so that it doesn't get jammed up. It'll prevent it from fraying while you're stitching. And always check your bobbin. If your bobbin is low or empty, your embroidery machine will not know. You want to make sure you have enough bobbin to finish the image, or the machine might finish your image without stitching the rest of the image, and that causes a lot of trouble. You can see that. Whenever you're loading the bobbin for sewing or embroidery, you always start with the thread going the wrong way, and then you wrap it around. There's a little piece it hooks on there, and then it goes through the tunnel, and then there's like a trap door you can cut it with. Oops, sorry for my finger in the photo. Then you shut that. But when I'm in between images, I like to just pull out the hoop, peekaboo into that little see-through door, and make sure there's enough bobbin that I think I'll be able to finish it. These dogs you can use while in sewing mode, but you want to make sure those walking feet are down while you're in embroidery mode. I'll show you where that is on this machine. First, you have to use this lever on both sides to loosen this arm. Once you've pulled that arm out, you can see there's 2 images. One shows the feet above the surface and one below. You want to make sure the feet are lowered because that does not control the movement of the fabric while you're doing embroidery. This arm is what controls the movement of the embroidery. To attach the arm, you're going to lift the presser foot, lift this little piece here, and then guide the connection into the arm. And then it locks. To remove it later, you'll just pull this piece back and then pull the whole thing forward. Once again, this is a tour for the Singer Futura. I've had it since before 2017. I don't think I've ever actually used it for sewing, but I do know there's an error that will turn on. Let me show you this common error. PC. The embroidery machine will not work unless actively plugged into a computer, and this cord is a printer cord. So if you lose your cord, you can just get a normal printer cord, or what I did is I got a 10-foot printer cord because my computer is far away from my machine. I also want to recommend an external hard drive. It's fantastic for saving your files on, and I want to encourage you to make cool things and enjoy the game.